Hello, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Although, I don't know, Dawn like it's delayed. I guess not. It's pretty early, 5:25 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's the time zone for New Orleans, Louisiana, Memphis, Tennessee, St. Louis, Missouri, Chicago, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, Minnesota. That's the Central Time. Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas. Got about those. Sorry. Kansas City, Missouri. All right, that's the Central Time Zone. If you live in those areas, you're used to it. If you're in the East, you're not. You would find it strange to live in this time zone. Okay, Harwood Canadian. A blend introduced in 1969 by Seagrams. It replaced an old 1930s, 40s, and 50s distillery brand called Harwood's from Duncan Harwood, but they went out of business in the 1950s and their distillery shut down. So Seagram's probably waited till their trademark lapsed and then they took it over and made Harwood. Okay. Hey, no problem with that. The company doesn't exist. Kind of hard to protect a trademark when you don't exist. 80 proof. Now, when it was Duncan Harwood's back in the, like I said, 1940s, it was 90.4 proof. 90.4. So they came out with just a less expensive 40% alcohol, 80 proof. You know what I'm saying? No, I mean, there's the duck pen, a very pretty pen and ink drawing of a duck in the marshland. C note says good early morning. Good morning to you. Maxwell says good morning, Ron. Good morning to you, Maxwell, in the Russian Federation. So this is Harwood, but in 1989, 30 years after they introduced this, Seagram sold this to Heaven Hill, along with a bunch of other brands like Henry McKenna, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and it's been a Heaven Hill brand for the last 35 years. Okay. Doesn't say anything about coloring or flavoring added, and Heaven Hill's good about telling you if they got coloring or flavoring added. So I assume it's a pure, unadulterated whiskey. Okay, here is Gibson's Finest Canadian whiskey. Don't know when it was introduced because they don't tell you on the William Grant and Sons website. It's made by William Grant and Sons, so they don't even bother to tell you anything about it. They just list it as one of their brands, no information. So I don't know when it was introduced. Somebody wrote an article about it saying it was 1972, but then he didn't provide any source material. There's just somebody saying that. And a lot of people say a lot of things. There's the crest with the two deer holding up the shield of Canada with the maple leaf and some mountains above it and a beaver. So all kind of stereotypical Canadian type of, motifs. There's the 12-year age statement. It's aged 12 years. Yeah, this is no cheapo. But I did get it cheap. That's a beautiful glass bottle with a handle on the back. It's embossed. Molded glass. It's got the crest in the glass. It's got a real wooden cap with a real cork. It's not particle board or rubber or twist cap. No, it's authentic cork, as you can see. You won't believe what I paid for this, so I won't mention the price because now if somebody guesses the price, I'll say, yeah, that's what I paid for it. But it was the most fabulous deal in the world at Savannah Discount, the legendary Savannah Discount on Louisiana Highway 45, locally known as Barataria Boulevard, Louisiana Highway 45, northbound Marrero, Louisiana. Put the hardwood here. $14.99 $14.99 at Dormax Food Center. True story. Tom says, I'm drinking some rum. Okay. So, glass. Everything about this is great. The flavor is not so great, though, in my opinion. But now the last taste challenge, the one I did yesterday evening, well, that wasn't really much of a challenge because they didn't really taste alike at all. So I've gotten 10 right and 3 wrong. All right, so I've done 13 taste challenges. I'm at a 77% average, 10 victories, 3 defeats. And the ones that I got wrong were the ones that were so similar one to another. Makes sense, doesn't it? Some of these are so similar and some are not so similar. Okay, so these have a, about the same appearance. Gold, just straight up mid-range gold. Don't look like they have coloring added. They might. Don't look like. Now, I see some people, it's interesting. And I'm wrong sometimes. I say things sometimes that are wrong. I'll admit it. Oh, I was wrong. I'll say I was wrong. I didn't know I was confused or so for whatever. Happens. But I see some people saying stuff. Maybe they would have the same attitude as me. They might say the same thing. Yeah, I was wrong. I did. I had that wrong. I got to get this camera straight. It's kind of fell back a little bit. But they'll say something like, "Oh, this Canadian whiskey is made with grain neutral spirits. It's like 80% grain neutral spirits." Well, that might be the case when it was being produced. But after aging 3 years in oak barrels, whether they're charred or non-charred, new or used, that doesn't matter. It would no longer be a grain neutral spirit. It would be a whiskey, a Canadian whiskey. And then they blend it with rye whiskey, barley malt whiskey if they want to, wheat whiskey, whatever grains they choose, and at whatever combination ratio, it's up to them. But no Canadian whiskey has grain neutral spirits in the final product. Grain neutral spirits become whiskey after aging in wood. In the United States, that would be 2 years in new charred oak barrels. So if you took grain neutral spirits, you can go to the store and buy them. You can buy them in a bottle, but they're 190 proof. But they would bring it down to 80 proof, let's say, with water, 40% alcohol. They'll put it in a brand new charred oak barrel. You say, well, the grain neutral spirit might be 100% corn whiskey, ethanol. Wouldn't matter. That's fine. Do that. After 2 years, then it would come out the barrel and it's a new product. It's like a caterpillar. It goes in the cocoon, comes out a different thing. It would become Kentucky. Well, let's assume it's in Kentucky. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Now, that's just a fact. You can't get around that. There's no disputing that. That's an incontrovertible fact. What that means is not an opinion. Either you're on the right side of that fact, meaning you're correct, or you're on the wrong side of that fact, meaning you're incorrect. There's no gray area. Okay, you can't say, well, that's not my truth. Your personal truth is irrelevant to the reality, to objective reality. Some people like to use that today to get around truth, absolute truths. They'll say that's not my reality. Okay, well, then your reality is a lie. There's some things are concrete. They're objective. That's why we call it an objective reality. All right. You could reject reality. Some people live in fantasy, in a fantasy voluntarily. They choose to detach themselves from reality and live a fantasy life voluntarily. Some people are mentally ill and they don't even realize they're living in a fantasy world. They have delusions, meaning they believe things that aren't true. Or they hear voices, auditory hallucinations. They hear things, but the thing isn't there. I mean, unless it's a demonic spirit talking to them, which is possible. Or they'll see things that aren't there. Visual hallucinations. That's pretty bad, huh? Okay. Anyway, but I think with this channel, I know with this channel, we deal in reality. I mean, we kid around a lot because as a comic, in all seriousness, I do kid around, but we do deal in reality here. We made a video one time; it's no longer posted. We made it. I could recreate the video as Jack Daniel's of bourbon, and some people got hot under the collar about that. And one guy said, "Well, I used to be a bartender, and the customers didn't view it as a bourbon." I said, "Okay." I said, "Is that the law? Is that what, if you read the legal standard for bourbon, does it say a whiskey that people view as a bourbon? Or is it a whiskey that has these following components that fit the legal parameters?" Well, of course, it's the second choice. Okay, so now here we go. So we know these two are aged at least 3 years. This one is 3 years. We know this one is 12-year age. The youngest whiskey in this blend is 12 years. We know that this one is bottled in Kentucky. We know that this one, I think, is bottled in Canada. It's all Canadian. Yep. There's nothing about bottled in America. They actually give you the legal. They actually give you the legal description of Canadian whiskey on the back. That's very good. That's a very good helpful thing to put on the label. So these things we know that's glass. We know that's plastic. We know they're both 1,750 milliliter bottles. What we don't know is if they have color or flavoring added. I assume they don't. No, notice I said I assume, because it doesn't have a statement about flavoring or coloring. But on the other hand, I could be totally wrong because they're not required to put that statement on the bottle. It's the producer's option. They can put it on there or not put it on there. It's up to them. $14.99 for Harwood. That is a great price for a very delicious whiskey, I might add. I like it a lot. Gibson's, you'll never guess what I paid for that big glass bottle. Well, you might guess, but I doubt you'll guess correctly. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll give you a clue. It was an amazing price. You look up go look it up, like on Total Wine and More. What is the price for a handle glass bottle of well, they only make glass, Gibson's finest, age 12 years. I can assure you it's not anywhere close to $14.99. Oh yeah, it smells like sweet corn. What is this? Oh, that's water. I see what happened. Funny. I had water in the glass, and when I did like that, it splashed. I was like, what? I didn't drip any whiskey, not to my recollection, and I did not. So yeah, we deal with objective realities on this channel. Some people get upset about that. I don't know why you would get upset about like real things. You know, the truth will set you free, right? The truth will set you free. Jesus said that. Pontius Pilate said, what is truth? Now, did he want to explore that further? Did he really research that or try to find out? Or was he just making a flip remark, you know? When he was, not cross-examining him, just questioning him and trying not to be bothered by the whole situation. But, as a politician, so to speak, a government appointee trying to keep his job, doing underhanded things to keep his job. All right. Instead of doing the right thing, but, that's kind of a reflection on how we are as people, right? We do that. We're all guilty of it. Grain, but not so sweet. It's grain, obviously corn, barley malt, rye, might have some wheat. Now, what grains are required in Canadian whiskey? Well, if you read the law, it just says whole grains. In other words, you can't use syrup. But or an extract. It had to be a whole grain. That's common up there. Um, but it doesn't say what type, doesn't say what ratio. Just gives some parameters on the proof that it has to be, and the aging, and where it has to be stored, and that kind of thing, and about how it has to be distilled. But beyond that, it's not too strict. I was looking at the law. It's on the website, Canadian government website, not some dude that writes a blog, which is gets me irate to no end when people tell me, "Oh, that's Sazerac's #1 mash bill." I said, "How do you know that? How do you know Buffalo Trace is Sazerac's number, whatever it is, mash bill?" Well, then they'll say, well, a lot of people say that on the internet. Does Sazerac say that? Is there any official information relative to that mash bill that you talk about? And I've gotten this response, I think, twice now. Well, this man has a blog. Okay, I looked up his blog, his web log. It looked very nice. It was interesting. He had no footnotes. He's talking about mash bills here, mash bills there. Michael Corleone did this. Michael Corleone did that. So I said, yeah, sure. Nothing. That's not a source. Somebody writing a blog is not a source. Like I read about the Gibson saying, some guy said 1972, it came out 1972. Where's your source? Where do you get this from, the sky? Where you got a revelation? Okay. Grain, not really that sweet. You know, as a nose would perceive sweetness, which really technically is not true, but you know what I'm saying. What it smelled like it's going to be. Okay, taste time. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Okay, sweet grain. A lot of rye, spicy rye. Canadian whiskey is known for that. Although I don't find this as ride up as people might say, but it does have that spicy character, not spicy like heat, but spicy like spices, you know, like black pepper or something, but not with a heat component. So don't think it along of spicy hot. See, when I went to Spain last year, I thought, oh, it's Spain. They speak Spanish. All the food's going to be spicy hot. You know, you say, well, that's prejudice. Yes, that is prejudice. We could say because you're prejudging the country without really knowing. I hadn't studied Spanish cuisine at all, see. But in my thinking, that's what I thought was going to happen. But it wasn't at all. It was very bland. Somebody told me, another guy from Nicaragua, he told me, oh, that's like a Mexican thing. Everybody that speaks Spanish not into all that heat. I said, okay. Now that's his statement. And he's from Managua, so he would know more than me. He grew up eating Nicaraguan cuisine. Aha. Aha. That has a very woody woodpecker taste. What I mean to say, it is very toothpick woody. Now I know after being in the barrel, wood barrel, oak barrel for 12 years, it's going to take on that oaky taste. And it's so woody. To me, it's kind of bitey. But I'm telling you, it is tasting better today than in many previous tastings. When I did a solo review of it after I first bought it, I liked it a lot. But as I started doing taste challenges, my appreciation dropped. I say this stuff's bitey. It's toothpick woody. People say you should like it. It's aged 12 years. It's a premier Canadian whiskey. It's very popular here in Canada. And I'm saying, I know I should like it, as you say, but I don't like it. All right. But as I'm tasting it this morning, I like it. Assuming I got it right. Harwood. I think that's Harwood. I know it's laughable. You're probably watching this and laughing in a derisive manner, and I can understand that. You're saying, oh, give me a break. A 3-year age versus a 12-year age, and you having trouble. You are having trouble. Yes, I am having trouble. Seemed like it would be easy, but the honest answer is it's not easy. Might be easier for you, not easier for me. I can't imagine that either one of these products would have flavoring added. It just doesn't taste like it. It just literally does not taste like any flavoring is going into these products. Well, maybe if you want to call oak barrel a flavoring, yeah, but that's not what that is. But so yeah, I'm gonna say this is the Gibson's finest, even though it's underneath the Harwood. That's just how it got mixed up. And I don't prefer it or unprefer it over the Harwood. You understand? I have no preference really in this challenge, which is a bit of a surprise to me because I thought I would prefer the Harwood, but I'm not right now. It is the Gibson, so that stronger wood note, which this morning did not come across as bitey. Now, next time I use it, it might come across bitey, having a bad bite. So, came across smooth this morning. Well, what do you know? Now, so all things considered, though, I guess I would buy the Harwood because I'm not tasting much of a deficit, if any. You know what I'm saying? I'm not tasting any inferiority. Is it younger? I know it's younger by 9 years. 9 years, but is it making any kind of significant difference? Any significant distance? No, I don't see it. So the winner, with all things considered, now you understand, price, availability. Well, neither one is sold in my town. I've never seen them in my town, which only has 29,000 people. So, but in New Orleans, even you barely see them. I mean, you might stumble across either one, but you probably aren't going to stumble across either one. But you might. I did. See, West bank of the river, east bank of the river, Mississippi River. Old muddy. But all things considered, I would go with the Harwood. I'm gonna give the trophy to Harwood today. No one guessed the price I paid for Gibson's, but it was amazing. Amazing. I've never run across anything more amazing than that. You say, well, what about when you got the Dewar's 12-year age handle bottle now, glass handle bottle for $14.99 at Mathern's? Well, that was pretty amazing. Dewar's 12-year, $14.99 for handle. That was pretty amazing. And David was like, you ought to buy both bottles. He bought one. There was 3 bottles in the shopping cart. I said, no, let somebody else get it, which certainly they did. A deal like that won't last. I could tell that's Gibson's. That would. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. Next time, tomorrow, the last Canadian Taste Challenge. I think it's the last. The 40 Creek. Maybe I'm overlooking one. That's going to be a battle, but I think 40 Creek's going to take it. All right. Bye.